Senator Macdonald.
Mr Acting Deputy President, I thought this debate was about freedom of speech, not about marriage, so-called marriage equality. But all I can say to the previous speaker is that if she had voted the right way a couple of months ago, this would have been a done deal by now. It would be all over and done with. The plebiscite would have been held. The Australian people would have made their decision and advised Parliament what it was all about. But the Greens stopped it. The Greens and the Labor Party stopped it, and yet they have the hide to come in here and complain about it. Senator Rice, if you'd supported this last year when it came before this chamber, this issue would not be being discussed at the moment. We would have had the plebiscite, the Australian people would have spoken, and whatever they said would now be the law of the land. So don't talk to me about marriage equality. It would have been dealt with by now had it not been for the Labor Party and the Greens. But getting on to the subject of freedom of expression, freedom of speech. And I walked in and heard Senator Rice using the words like intolerant, hate speech, very small minority, loudly imposing their views. And I thought, hello, she's talking about the fake demonstration that was outside my office just last week, when an elected member of Parliament, no less, and her paid staff were outside my office in Townsville with a few paid union organisers yelling and carrying on in an intolerant way, interrupting people going about their normal course of life in Townsville, rabbiting on about penalty rates which were determined not by me or the government, but by the Fair Work Commission, a commission set up by the Australian Labor Party and Mr Bill Shorten in particular, and asked by Mr Bill Shorten when he was the minister to look into this issue of penalty rates. They did that, this commission, which I pay respect to and I accept their decision, but it was a commission stacked with former union heavies, former union organisers and officials. That's who the commission was, and yet they have heard the evidence, come down, and they've said that there should be some address on the penalty rates paid on Sundays. Now, Mr Deputy President,
sorry, Senator Macdonald, resume your seat. Senator Dastyari.
Look, I'm well aware that we normally allow a fair bit of scope and free range in these debates, but through you, Chair, I would ask the Speaker to try and at least bring it back to the issue at hand. I think I appreciate that we normally sway a bit, but I think this is perhaps getting a bit too far.
Thank you, Senator Dastyari. Senator Donald, you may resume your contribution.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. I also always know when my speech is successful because Senator Dastyari or one of his mates in the Labor Party will always try to interrupt me, and I'm pleased about that because it shows that what I am saying is true and it is actually having an impact. Now, we're talking about freedom of speech. Now, can I tell you, quite frankly, I don't care if Ms O'Toole, the illegitimate, I might say, member for Herbert, spends her time demonstrating.
Senator Dastyari, you have a point of order?
Again, I'm unfortunately not going to be able to quote the exact standing order, but my understanding is calling a member elected in the other house illegitimate would extend. Yes.
Senator Macdonald, given your many years of experience here, I'm not sure that a person can be an illegitimate member of Parliament. You're either a member of Parliament or you're not. So I'd ask that you withdraw a reference to illegitimate. I
do so, Mr Deputy President. Can I just explain? I will withdraw, as you ask. I'm not referring to her personally. I'm not suggesting, suggesting what Senator Dastyari is suggesting I'm saying about Ms O'Toole. Certainly that's not it. What I am saying is that she won the election by 37 votes, and as the Electoral Matters Committee has already clearly determined, there were more than 100 votes in doubt in that particular election. Well, hang on. Wait for it. And I'll tell you why. If you want to have this argument, let's go for it.
Senator Macdonald, resume your seat. Please, contributions must address the chair. Interruptions are disorderly, and I ask those on my left to desist. Senator Macdonald.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. I will get back to the freedom of speech issue, but there is evidence before the Electoral Commission that there were incidents that happened which prevented anyone from knowing, for example, so many cases of double voting that were not even made aware to either the candidates or the political parties until when after the time for taking action in the Court of Disputed Returns. But more about this in another on another occasion. But that was my reference to illegitimate was as a member of Parliament for that seat. That is not the right result. I called it an illegitimate result. I was certainly making no personal reflection on Ms O'Toole. But back to the freedom of speech. Mr Acting Deputy President, quite frankly, I don't care if Ms O'Toole and her paid staff members campaign outside my office. I believe in freedom of speech. I would have thought perhaps that's not what she and her staff are being paid for. I would have thought would have had some more important work to do in Townsville, trying to help the hundreds and thousands even of young unemployed in that city, rather than conducting a fake demonstration outside my office. And what adds insult to injury, I might say, Mr Acting Deputy President, is they always have these fake demonstrations when they know I'm not in the town, that I'm out somewhere else in Queensland representing my electors. But I like free speech, and if they want to have a demonstration outside my office, that's fine. But if the Palaszczuk government is going to set the police on to preachers in the south-east, I haven't seen any of this in Townsville, but if the Palaszczuk government is going to set the police on to preachers in the south-east of the state, then perhaps the Palaszczuk government should just think about perhaps these illegal, unlawful demonstrations outside the front of my office. Now, I repeat, I don't give a damn about it. Nobody took much notice of them. Those who were interfered with as they walked up the street simply laughed at them. I mean, it was the CPSU, would you believe, Mr Acting Deputy President, complaining about reduction of penalty rates on a Sunday. Tell me which member of the CPSU works on a Sunday. Tell me which one. Okay, there's not many of them. But look, I don't. If they want to demonstrate, that's fine. But we need some consistency in Queensland. Now, perhaps, Mr Acting Deputy President, we could ask Ms Palaszczuk, what is the difference? What is the difference between an authorised street rally in Townsville that just happened to be organised by the unions that keep her in business? What's the difference between that and these people trying to get across a message about their faith in the southeast of the state? Now, Mr Acting Deputy President, Australia is the home to a diversity of faiths united by tolerance, mutual respect and a commitment to democratic traditions. Now, I don't always agree with people that come and speak to me or try to speak to me or make public speeches about various parts of their faith or the religion they follow, but I will fight to death for them to be able to express their view as long as they don't harass others who are going about their lawful activities. And where there is an harassment, if that is the allegation, then I agree that people are entitled to their right of movement, their right of going about their business without impediment. But my understanding of the issue that Senator Roberts has brought before the Senate is that these are simply people of a faith who are standing on a street corner, standing in the mall, giving their view and their faith and trying to encourage people to think about their lives and their faith position. And that's fine by me. As long as they don't impede my progress, as long as they don't in any other way interfere with my freedom of movement, then I have no objection to them. So I say, in concluding, Mr Acting Deputy President, that I ask the Palaszczuk government, tell me the difference between a demonstration in Townsville where people are impeded, or a demonstration, a preacher or a group of preachers making a comment, an argument, a dissertation on their faith in Brisbane. I think when we start, when we get down to trying to impede the free speech of people anywhere in my state of Queensland or anywhere else, we are approaching difficult and dangerous times. Accordingly, I really do think that the Queensland government, which is the subject of this particular debate today, should be consistent. You either stop everyone or you stop no one. I go for the stop no one. Providing they're not harassing anyone, then people should be able to express themselves in whatever way they like and shouldn't be impeded by police forces in Queensland, apparently set off by the Queensland State Government. Ms Palaszczuk can't have it both ways. It either has to be everyone stop or everyone's allowed to go. It should be everyone's allowed to go within the reasons that I've mentioned, and I do thank Senator Roberts for raising this important issue. It is the sort of important issue we need to discuss in this chamber.